My original dream was really not to make the NHL, but it was to play with the Marlies. To play a Marley game on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. That was the ultimate goal for me.
Steve Shuttt played minor hockey in the Toronto Marlborough system. And when their top junior club practiced, Steve would watch the older players.
I would watch them, and I'd watch them shoot the puck, and I would think to myself, wait a minute, I can almost shoot as hard as those guys now. I can almost skate as fast as those guys. And so then that dream was just a little bit closer to reality, and I think right at midget or minor midget, it hit me that, boy, I can become a hockey player. There's no doubt that junior hockey was much tougher than the NHL. If you could survive junior hockey and all of the battles that went on there, you could survive the NHL. And I got drafted by Montreal, and the first thing I said, oh, geez, what's going on here? Because at that time they had a pretty stacked team. And I says, I'm never gonna make this the NHL, not with this team. The first 2 years, when I spent a lot of time in the press box, I wasn't very philosophical about it. I hated it. And I just kept thinking to myself, I've come this far, and I'm going to be a failure. I'm not going to make the NHL.
He sat in my area up in the broadcast booth and so on, watching the games more than he was on the ice playing it. He was part of that group that teams call the Black Aces, who are around at practice and don't get to play very often.
And I just made up my mind that there hadn't been one other hockey team that I couldn't make, so I was going to make the Montreal Canadiens.
His perseverance would pay off. In his third year, Steve would crack the mighty Montreal lineup for good, and hockey became fun again.
Playing hockey was added up to a good time to Steve Shuttt. He enjoyed it. He looked as if he enjoyed it, and that's important. But that didn't for a minute take away from his intensity, the dedication to winning.
One of the things I used to say was that, all that glass that's around the rink. Well, that glass wasn't to keep the pucks in. That glass was to keep everybody else out. Because that's when we were happiest, right there. Once we were on the ice, that was the happiest moments of our lives.
He enjoyed to play and actually doubled his output. He went from 15 to 30 to 45 to 60 goals over a 4-year span. So he just kept rising to the occasion and formed a tandem with Guy Lafleur that pretty well unstoppable.
Playing with Lafleur was a lot of pressure. This guy was just so good and so driven that I knew that I had to be at the top of my game, or else this guy was just going to leave me in the dust.
Shutty before a game, would sort of look at Lafleur and say, I need you ready tonight. I need you ready, but not too ready. I don't want goals from you. I want rebounds. You give me a rebound and I'll put it away.
Steve was a constant offensive threat who made goal scoring look easy. 1976 marked the first of 4 straight Stanley Cups for Steve Shuttt and the mighty Montreal Canadiens.
Gets that phrase, the garbage collectors. These fellas that pick up the rebounds from the Lafleurs of life and put it in the net. But he had a terrific sense of the game of hockey. A terrific feel about how the game should be played, how it was being played. I think his intelligence was a very, very big part of Steve Shutt's game. I always thought that.
The kind of thing that would separate Steve from the large majority of players around the net would be his ability to get his stick on the puck as the goalie was sprawled on the ice and other players were poking and jabbing at it. He would calmly stand his ground, and when the puck popped out, whether it was on the ice or a foot off the ice or 2 feet off the ice, would calmly reach out, get a blade of his stick on the puck, and put it in the net.
His eye-hand coordination was exceptional. He came up with a good shot, but he had a deft knack of taking pucks that were in the air and turning them into deflections. He was one of the best I've ever seen.
And I've not seen a guy that quick, and that's why he gives you nightmares, is because it's that element of surprise and the ability that he has to knock stuff out of the air that no one else can do.
Stevie Shutt was the type of player you had to make sure you knew where he was all the time. He was the type of guy that, in your zone, you would never really be able to pick him up. You wouldn't realize it until after the puck was in your net, and you'd look around, it was Stevie Shutt that scored on you. And he had a great shot. Unbelievable shot. He'd come across the blue line, he could tee it up better than anybody. And he was accurate, which is scary for somebody with a slap shot.
One of the highest scoring left wingers of all time, Steve Shutt thrilled foreign fans for 12 seasons. But Steve is quick to credit the Montreal spirit.
The ego we had as a team was we were the best, and we were going to prove it. And we were going to prove it tonight, and we were going to prove it tomorrow night, and we're going to prove it the night after that we're the best. And it's that attitude becomes a habit, and it's a good habit to get into.